Lithgow Library has been a very special place to me all through the years and the chapters of my life. It's been an oasis of finding the right books at the right time. I want to tell you a little story. When I was 5 years old, I came to the Lithgow Library at the children's department, which was upstairs. I was scared, I was frightened, and my mother took my hand and said, "There are very pretty books upstairs and you'll love them." And I still was scared because we had to open the door and go upstairs. But finally I said, "I'll go." I remember, but all the way up I was a little scared, and she knew it, and she kept bringing me up, and finally we reached the top. And I was so impressed because the very first book I saw up there was the one that my mother had been reading to me, Raggedy Ann and Andy. I was at home, and I wasn't frightened anymore. Well, the years went on, and I was around 10 or 11, and my friend, my girlhood friend, she and I would make weekly trips up the stairs, finding our wonderful classics and adventures, and then coming home and enacting them after we'd read. Oh, we were wonderful. We thought we were. One day, my girlfriend's mother said, "Would you pick up a library book down at the library, in the adult library?" Oh, this was an adventure. We'd always been upstairs, but to come down into that library. We opened the door, and she went up to the desk to speak to Miss Hill. I came to this door, and I looked at this room, and I was just so enchanted. I thought I was in a palace. It was so beautiful. And then I heard my friend speak, but she had been whispering to me, and she whispered louder, and she says, "Catherine, who is the man over the fireplace?" I said, "What? Who's the man in the frame on the fireplace?" "Oh," I said, "he's somebody's grandfather." And then I heard the pen come down on the desk, and Miss Hill said, "Girls, up here." And she said, "I'd like to have you know that this is the founder of our library. His name is Llewellyn Lithgow. I want you to remember that from now on." We hurriedly and swiftly went out the door. When I was in college, I used to come back here in this reading room doing research papers. It was always a joy. It was like coming home again. And then my daughter went up those stairs, too. She wasn't afraid like I was. She knew what she wanted in books. And then something very remarkable happened. I was asked to do a puppet show upstairs in the library for the children. Well, Miss Bean was the children's librarian at the time, and she said, "We'll have just a few little children around, and you bring your puppets, and we'll do a little few stories." And I said, "All right." So I was teaching school at Beaufort then, but I hurriedly got out, came over, and went up the stairs. And remember, there were only supposed to be a few people there, and there were just reams and reams of kids, and they were all waiting for a puppet show. And I didn't have a puppet theater, and I felt so awful because these darling kids, this was a time when puppets were making a big scene. So you can imagine how disappointed they were going to be just see somebody talking about puppets. But we saved the day. We had them all sit down and on the floor. It might have been hard, but they all sat down, and I told them that someday I'd do a puppet show for them with a theater. And I was privileged to be able to go into the new library to do the beautiful on the stage or the puppet show and all the children with Miss Emerson's summer program. But it worked out. We succeeded. I don't know how we did, but it was a beginning, and it was a wonderful beginning. Well, the memories go on. For 10 years, I've been a trustee here, And on my last days as trustees, I remembered that I had learned so much being one. I learned the history of this building. I learned who the man on the fireplace was, too. And I also learned how important the library is to our community and the functions of the library. But I have to tell you this last story. It's very interesting. I hope you don't mind, our director. But what happened, on my last few years of being at the library, we had a little reception for our library director. I had never met her. Some of those trustees had. And we had such a wonderful refreshments all set up and everything, and I was sitting there, and this young woman came in, and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I bet she is lost. Somebody should tell her where to go." And I thought maybe she was going to look up something for her classes or something. And then this young man, handsome young man, came in with two darling children, and I thought, what are they doing here? And then I learned who it was. She was our director, and she was Betsy. And I was shocked, and I thought, this young girl. And then I learned this young girl had been to Bates, she'd been to Simmons, she had two children, she had a handsome husband. And I learned that she knew more about the library that could ever fill all these walls. So we're so fortunate to have her. We're so fortunate because she loves being a part of this library. And also the trustees are so wonderful. It's so good to see all the ones I used to serve with, Ellaby and Jim, both bringing levity to meetings, and you, and Sue, all of them. But in the meantime, I'm going to just say one last word. Maybe I wasn't so far wrong. Maybe Llewellyn Lithgow was a grandfather to all of us who love books. He was the one who allowed us to have a free library. And he was the one who gave it to us in 1896. What a wonderful, wonderful year. Thank you.